Ladies and gentlemen, we are live here on Friday night. Welcome to Shot of Nostalgia. This is episode number 6. We're continuing that straight ride right through the Austin era. God damn it, everything's getting crazy. Vince McMahon ain't no baby face. Yes, man, we're full entrenched into the Austin era. You know me, I'm good old Mike Belcaster. As always, my partner in crime.
Live from the No Sale Studios, it's the Ace of the Tavern, Stephen ACEFIELD, and I am here, like we said before, to talk everything we need to talk about with 1998. And you know what, man? What a ride it's been. At this point, you and I understand the ramifications that we're seeing for WWF 1998 and what WrestleMania 14 really has meant.
Yeah, man. No, it was a huge mania. As you could feel it, if you were following along with us, the steam is picking up. You're really, really getting that deep dive into who Stone Cold Steve Austin really is. Yeah, man, we're getting so many great moments. We're getting the regeneration of D-Generation X in the best way possible. And a surprise little throwback to season 2 of Shot of Nostalgia. We got Too Cold Scorpio on the show this week. Oh my goodness.
That is true. Yes, we did. And dude, shout out to Too Cold Scorpio. It's a cheap plug here for my boy Desmond Cole. March 25th for Limitless Wrestling. My boy, the big boofa Desmond Cole, will be wrestling the aforementioned Too Cold Scorpio at a live event. I think it's in Massachusetts. So I'm super stoked for him. And man, Too Cold Scorpio, a legend, still going out. He's been crushing it in GCW.
Yeah, no, it was insane to see him with the long ponytail, rocking the Funk shirt. But I did like that the commentary team went through back to Too Cold Scorpio. We'll get to it when we get to it. But God, what an awesome 3 episodes of Raw we got to cover for you this week. Just fantastic content, man.
Yeah, 3 episodes of Raw, and we were a step away from another pay-per-view, and it seems like we're flying through this season. And just to give you guys, you saw the Instagram post, you saw what I posted. Season 4 has been announced. It's going to be Shot Nostalgia, Smoky Mountain Wrestling 1994, a mini series, 7 episodes that will bring us to episode 70. And then hopefully season 5 will be 30 episodes to bring us to a clean 100 after season 5. Not going to reveal it's season 5 yet because it's still in discussion. We have an idea what it's going to be, but still some negotiations happening, specifically on Mike Belcaster's side.
I got some, me and Scott D'Amore, we're having some issues going on here. So when he decides to drop the heat, we'll figure some shit out. All
right, let's get into the newsletter and all the things at happy hour. Let's get our lips wet with a couple drinks and let Meltzer lead the way, because as Maxwell Jacob Freeman said, just like our faves, we're going to get all the fixings from Dave Meltzer.
Happy hour.
Right there would have been the perfect drop for the Meltzer thing from MJF. Just to put it right there.
Yeah.
Just, am I not like your faves, Dave?
You got to love the camaraderie, man. You absolutely have to.
Keep laughing, dipshit. But yeah, that's what he said to him. And that honestly, Brian Alvarez's face is just absolutely insane too. So like just the whole thing, go back and watch the AEW scrum. That's what we're talking about, guys.
You have to. Yeah, no, pickle me this. It was fantastic.
So let's get into Pickle Me in April 6, 1998 newsletter. And it's all the WrestleMania fallout. So Meltzer talks about the importance. And I think even in the immediate, he's recognizing the importance of what WrestleMania 14 was as far as taking the next step for WWF. It felt really, as we watched it, and all kidding aside, it really felt like we stepped over the threshold into something bigger. And even the next night on Raw, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it really felt like we're in the Attitude Era. There was like a huge divide that we were over the hurdle, and all of a sudden it's different. It feels different.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, the show opened with Vince walking to the ring with the title. I mean, a new title too, not that bullshit Winded Eagle. It was the big baby blue, but you're really ushering a new era, and it's not something we don't see that too often in pro wrestling, where it's ushered in such greatness as it was. It was fantastic, man.
So Meltzer talks about the importance. He said WrestleMania will end up being one of the most memorable wrestling shows of the modern era, and not for the wrestling. Not that the wrestling wasn't good, as it was solid, surprising in spots, and some very gutsy performances in others, but the show itself, tremendously well produced, almost designed to be a 13 years after the original rebirth of the New Look World Wrestling Federation and the coronation of Steve Austin as the new Hulk Hogan, along with the attempt to become the symbolic ushering in a new hot period of pro wrestling. Wow. I mean, so much was said in such a little bit of sentence construction. He covered it all, like recognizing, of course, everybody knows Steve Austin is the guy, but to compare and really understand the importance of what happened, like, I don't know, when you were watching in 1998, did it feel as important as we watch it now, knowing the full context, or is Meltzer just reading the tea leaves as like a soothsayer here?
I think it's a little mix of both. I think we watched it as Austin fans, kind of like, oh, hell yeah, like this is what we've been waiting for, for this last build up for the last year. But then also, I mean, he kind of did take that throne as being the new Hulk Hogan guy, like he's the merch seller. He's the dude. I mean, short-lived career from here on out. Obviously, Austin doesn't have too much more gas left in his tank. But I mean, business-wise, I think he did more in those 4 years than I think Hulk Hogan did in a long, long time. So huge shit going on, man.
So Meltzer continues with a lot of words here, and he also talks about the media focus being predictably looking down their nose as to how far Tyson has sunk, like somehow participating in this stage show enjoyed by millions, designed to make a few bucks for him, rehab his sully image to a larger segment of the society than anyone would care to admit we're watching, and in the process become a very powerful pawn in a huge wrestling war was worse than what he's done in real life. So Tyson, I mean, this is the fallout. Tyson's done for now. Like, this was like the segment of time. There's conjecture that he might be involved in further storytelling with WWF, but this is his moment in the sun. I mean, we see him pop up in AEW. I mean, there might be some one-offs down the line. I know we saw him with Chris Jericho later on, but like this was what people remember in the Attitude Era of Mike Tyson. And I think it did well. I mean, just as much as it did for WWF, it did for Mike Tyson. It got him back on that path of, okay, he's not such a bad guy.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, he had that little stint with Jericho. I was watching this it was in my little big ass Mike Tyson documentary that I watched on YouTube a couple weeks ago. But I mean, he did come back. He did the Chris Jericho shtick. It wasn't terrible, right? That was more goofy, less serious. This felt more intense. This felt like a real moment. That felt more like a, hey, let's get Vince back, or let's get Tyson back, and have him do some goofy shit with Jericho. And that's basically what it was. But yeah, I mean, it shot everybody through a rocket, man. I think Tyson got his career back after having such negative press on him, and I think WWF just succeeded from here on out. Like this is their big time to shine.
Yeah, I agree. And as far as financials go, Meltzer says WrestleMania, which for all real purposes sold out the Fleet Center in Boston months ago, almost exclusively through mail order sales, drew 19,028 fans, and the largest gate for any event ever in the new building, plus an incredible 273,000 was spent in merchandise, which likely would be an all-time record for American pro wrestling of $17.41 per head. And it also was the largest gate for pro wrestling event in North America in 6 years, dating back to the Hogan versus Sid Justice match, April 5th, 1992 at WrestleMania at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. And it was also the fourth largest gate for pro wrestling ever, the fifth largest ever in North America. And likely it is every year the biggest in North America of the year. As of press time, it's too early to get anything but preliminary figures, largely from satellite distributors, but everyone thinks it's done well, Mike Belcaster. And as far as records, WWF and WWE go a long way with breaking more records and setting. I mean, I think the biggest spectacle at WrestleMania of its heights was the Dallas one. To me, that looks the craziest, but they continue to challenge these attendance records, as inflated as the numbers are. Still very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, we got this Mania coming up. I was looking at the arena and the layout and stuff like that. That holds 120,000 people. That's insanity, man. Like, what? Like, it's absolutely madness. But yeah, it does keep getting bigger and bigger. And I mean, it's like, if you build it, they will come. And every time they put that ring up, and no matter what, it's a football stadium, a goddamn baseball field, like they literally do great numbers. And it doesn't matter what the card is. They're usually sold well deep way before we even know what we're getting into Mania season.
And it's also amazing to think about how far we've even come since 1998. And the conversations, if you told someone you went back in time, won the DeLorean from 2023 in 1998, you're trying to explain to Meltzer or any fan that's in the building at the Fleet Center about where WWE would go and how important they would be to cultural entertainment and just how accepted they are. Because everything we're talking about here with Mike Tyson and everyone that gets involved, even Pete Rose and some of the celebrities that Dennis Rodman on the other side in WCW, they are like the societal rejects that like they can't do anything else in entertainment, so they go to wrestling. Now it's almost like the other way around, where wrestling is the preferred choice for entertainment. Like you got guys like Bad Bunny coming in, who's one of the biggest stars in all of entertainment and music, and go down the list. Logan Paul, someone who doesn't need wrestling, coming in here because it's a good way to get his brand out there. It's just amazing how far we've come, where WWE went from being this like people don't want to admit they're watching it to being as accepted as Disney on Ice. It's insane.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like you couldn't have said it better myself. And obviously you see the success from it too. Obviously Bad Bunny being out there in the ring, he's getting in the game, he's got figures, you know, same thing with Logan Paul. Like it's just, it's a good place to explore your celebratory opportunities. That's a well put way, right?
Yeah, I loved it. And we talked about celebrities, but let's talk about the wrestlers involved, and most specifically Shawn Michaels. We went all about conversations about his back, and I'm not exactly what part of his back was it.
Spinal.
Exactly, it's spinal. And Mike Tyson said it best. Shawn Michaels is battling a lot of injuries and a lot of heartache, and at this point we don't know exactly the extent of the injury. And Meltzer says after the show, the reports were that he suffered a ruptured disc in his back and would be out of action for long enough, like 9 to 12 months, that there are no plans for his involvement anytime soon. The next one on TV, he was largely written out of the script, with Triple H taking over and creating a new DX. After spending the vast majority of the past year on the sidelines between injuries and temper tantrums, it is believed it'll be a long time before the man who has often lived up to his gimmick as the showstopper will be back in the show. And how appropriate that is. We don't see him until 2002. That's a long period of time. And my wrestling fandom, Shawn Michaels was like a distant memory, because WrestleMania 14, a little bit after, is when my fandom like really blew up. And like, I would just remember seeing Shawn Michaels highlights about who he used to be, but Shawn Michaels, the commissioner, was who I remembered. And like, oh, he used to be a great wrestler. And when he returned in 2002, my mind was blown.
Yeah, no, I remember when they came out with that terrible commissioner action figure, but it was weird to see him in that role too, coming off of the injury. Like, was not expecting him back by any means. I feel like after the first couple months passed, you know, it was like Shawn Michaels who, you know, we had so much going on, we had so much bigger things happening, so Shawn Michaels coming back wasn't on anybody's mind. So I think the time off was not only good for him, but also his legacy and his fandom. And I mean, look what he did after he came back. I mean, that's the bigger statement. I think he did more in that run than he did in his beginning run, and that's a hell of a statement.
Yeah, and you could say the same thing about the butterfly effect in a way, where like a guy like Bret Hart leaves, Shawn Michaels is no longer there, and it's a vacuum that creates space for other people. And for guys like Triple H, The Rock, you know, even a guy like Ken Shamrock at the time, opportunities were created. And you would like to imagine a guy like Triple H, a guy like The Rock, they were undeniable. They were inevitable that they were going to rise to the top of the card. But if Shawn Michaels is still here and Bret Hart negotiates that long-term contract, they go through with the 13 years with WWF, he's a guy that's going to be presented front and center. That means someone else is not going to be at the top of the card, which means who's falling off? Like what happens if these guys stay? And I know everyone wants to talk about, damn, it sucks that Bret left. Like, it created this. Like, a guy like Austin got his opportunity because the old guard left. You know, guys like Diesel, Scott Hall, they left and went elsewhere. No,
absolutely, man.
So when there's a ton of media coverage, obviously, as we talk about WrestleMania, the biggest thing we're talking about is newspapers. The biggest was the 3:30 New York Times story by Kirk Johnson. While negative newspaper stories are generally momentary annoyances in wrestling, the Times carries far more weight. The downfall of UFC, while blamed on many different people, can be truly blamed for more than anything else. A series of negative stories over a period of 1 week in the Times, which directly led to the law of New York legalizing the sport being overturned, which resulted in the subsequent dropping of the shows by Time Warner and TCI. So there's also some negative press here. And I think back to, I have to look up the years, and we can ask Chad, he's our resident expert of UFC. That law stood for the longest period of time in UFC, where they were just recently, like I think it was in college, where they were just allowed to be doing UFC in Brooklyn. I remember when that happened at the Barclays Center, it was a really big deal. And they're saying It's all based off of this media coverage in the newspaper. This is how much power the newspapers once held.
It's insane. I mean, even Chicago was the same way. We were dry on Ultimate Fighting. I think probably in the later 2000s it started like picking up more, and it was like All State Arena, Rosemont Horizon, whatever you want to call the building. They never hosted UFC until late 2000s, like 2007, 2008, something like that. And that's insane, man.
So the story that they wrote following WrestleMania was entitled, this again is by Kirk Johnson, was Professional Wrestling Cuts Good Guys from the Script, and led off with a parent, a diehard wrestling fan, talking about not letting his 8-year-old daughter watch it because of the violence, bad language, and sexual overtones. The story didn't differentiate between WWF and WCW until the very end of the story, but did credit the appeal of the UFC and Extreme Wrestling for the new direction of pro wrestling, saying WCW has borrowed less from the two entities, but criticized the WCW product for being more violent, while at the same time having its strongest growth and popularity over the past year among children and teenagers. It noted several incidents: Kane setting the stuntman on fire, Pillman Steve Austin's gun angle, the Outlaws angle dumping Terry fucking Cactus Jack off the platform in the dumpster, and Kane using the tombstone on Pete Rose. This is bad for wrestling, and I know they'll overcome, and they will lean hardcore into this. Like, they won't give a shit. They're going to go far the other way, and we're going to see them do more edgy things over time. So the Kane setting someone on fire, sorry for that parent of the child. It gets way worse. So I would keep them away from the product, but that's kind of par for the course. And it shows what wrestling was in the eyes of the casuals. Like, at this point, didn't matter. WWF, WCW didn't matter what they were. They were just wrestling, and they was looked down upon, but looking down your nose at the product, and it's respected.
Yeah. No, that's wild. And this guy didn't even see Val Venus debut. So he's got a lot on his plate coming in the next couple of years.
So we talked about the all the stuff going on behind the scenes, but Meltzer talks about the wrestling. He said there were a lot of banged up wrestlers who did about as well as they could have. Michaels had good matches when they really shouldn't have ever been in the ring. Michaels probably paid a heavy price in doing so. We continue down the line as the LOD, now they're christened as LOD 2000, who unfortunately appear to have gotten a new name, not by being futuristic, but because Hawk wrestles like a 2,000-year-old man. Still, almost anything in this environment can get over. No matter how bad they may be in the ring, they'll survive through the sex appeal of Sonny and from their old reputation in the ring. So a lot of stuff on there. The injuries, Owen Hart was badly injured with that ankle. Like, the ankle was torn up, and he moved around like lightning in that WrestleMania match. Yeah. And Hawk being ripped apart. This is the perfect place for them to be, because no one gave a shit about work rate. It didn't matter in 1998.
No, not at all. And obviously it makes it more clear. It's the spectacle, man.
The other major story that no one really talks about is Earl Hebner and his condition, because he was scheduled to be the referee in the main event, but he was rushed to the New England Medical Center, and at last word was an intensive care unit due to what was believed to be a brain aneurysm. Apparently he was fine on Friday, but the day before the show, he was in bad shape and taken to the hospital. Many of the WWF officials visited him in the hospital, and reports are that he didn't appear to recognize anyone. He's expected to be hospitalized for at least a few weeks. So if you're watching that main event and you're recognizing that, wow, where's Earl Hebner? He should be the referee there. That's why. Like, I always thought about that. Why didn't Hebner have the call? And that's why. Yeah,
no, that's insane. And I have no recollection of any of this. So it's crazy to think that he was rushed to the emergency room during the pay-per-view. It's insane.
Yeah, it was about the day before, and he was supposed to take a bump during the match, and like everything was going on there. And yeah, I guess whatever happened with him, they rushed him because he wasn't feeling well, and brain aneurysm. Insane.
Yeah, wild.
We also have the retirement of Antonio Inoki, age 55. He's going to be having his retirement match on 4/4 at the Tokyo Dome against the winner of a 4-man tournament that will be held earlier in the show. Meltzer calls him the single most influential pro wrestler of the modern era. And that's strong words, man. Antonio Inoki, I think we saw a lot. I know he just passed away. We saw New Japan Pro Wrestling have a large tribute to him. They talked about just how much he's accomplished, not just in the ring, but out of the ring, developing Japanese wrestling and American wrestling at large. Interesting to see he's retiring here. What caught my eye was age 55, and they're talking like he was a dinosaur. 55 is the new 35 here in 2023.
Absolutely, man.
We also had the signing of Sean Waltman by the WWF, and it's a subsequent debut with a shoot interview on Raw on 3:30 from Albany, New York. We're going to talk about that. He pretty much went in, and apparently, according to Meltzer, everything he said was using the real life business negotiations with WWF and WCW. It's going to take center stage on television to contrive feuds between the companies to create and sell tickets. So this is, I mean, we see Bischoff who did 96. He calls out Vince. So go anywhere, try to convince that Hall and Nash are outsiders. But this is WWF's version of it, saying like, we're going to have the guys talk about how shitty it is over in Atlanta.
Yeah, and it works. It really does. Like you feel a momentum turn during that Sean Waltman promo. It's wild.
And we talked about it last week about Sean Waltman being fired and like how much went down with them. And it was like a pawn, according to Meltzer, in the tension between friends Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and obviously the power base of Hogan and Bischoff. So watching Waltman go here, this is an unsung hero of the Attitude Era that I think a lot of people, we talked about it last week, how important Sean Waltman was to establishing DX back to where it is. And I honestly don't think if he doesn't come back to DX, I don't think it gets as over as it was. And I know that might be a strong statement, but I think DX needed Sean Waltman, especially the connection with the Clique. He was so intertwined. It can't just be anyone else. You can't take Sean Morley or Adam Copeland. It has to be a guy that's connected with the Clique.
Yeah, no, for sure.
With Sean Waltman, Meltzer talks about this, sending a major message throughout the industry that WWF is willing to pay what had become market value for top talent rather than publicly cry during a period of economic boom about amounts of money their competition was throwing around by offering Waltman what amounted to a raise of a minimum of $50,000 to $100,000 per year with the possibility of earning more than that and putting in a limit of how many dates he could work per month. They're finally playing ball. We heard them crying poor in 1996 where like, we can't keep up. They're just throwing money at them. WWF is recognizing, wow, if we have our stars and we pay them and keep them, people are going to want to come to our shows, and they're making money hand over fist. We talked about these shows just on merch alone, how much money they're making. So
yeah,
this is a drop in the bucket to get people to come.
Yeah, no, the Austin 316 shirt was probably one of the best selling shirts of all time. And he was sitting on some fat wallets because of it.
So also to counter this, before we move to the April 13th newsletter, Bischoff spoke to the wrestlers recently in an apparent attempt to have reason for Waltman being fired, since the entire situation internally has been considered by most as, I quote, a black eye for the company, saying that any wrestler out of action for more than 6 months due to injury might be let go. This contradicts at least several wrestlers' opinion what Bischoff said shortly after the death of Pillman, where he claimed that no wrestler would ever be fired for taking time off for legitimate injury or going to rehab to take care of addictions. So now there's some damage control on the end. And I don't mean the tag team in WWE. This is full-blown damage control by Bischoff. He's trying to figure out how to make people feel a certain way. And it's like, damn, people are upset that Sean Waltman was let go, especially because he was hurt. That was the main thing. He was hurt. He was let go while he was hurt.
Yeah, and I covered on that a little bit last week. It was just it was a shitty move. You don't hold somebody as a pawn, especially when they're hurt. Fire them, try to make a statement, and then it backfires on you because the guy's hot as fucking lightning, and he goes, everybody's gonna instantly see, oh, he's doing much better over there. Maybe something is fishy going on here.
Yeah, 100%. And he actually considered suing WCW for the time left on his contract, but I think he probably recognized it's easier just to get the money from WWF and make them pay with being in the ring, and it paid off dividends. I think X-PAC and Sean Waltman, or whatever you want to know him, as 1, 2, 3 kid, his legend speaks for himself. I think he's a 2-time Hall of Famer, right, for the NWO and DX. So he did pretty well for himself.
Yeah, he did.
For the April 13th, 1998 newsletter, the interesting part, we talked about the Antonio Inoki retirement ceremony and everything they talked about with this. And this was fascinating to me because over the course of time, we have plenty of wrestlers that say they're retired. And a lot of people look at Ric Flair as saying he's the only guy that's gone back on his word. Of course, you can go back to Shawn Michaels, who retired. And then over the past 15, 20 years, think of all the wrestlers who have had elaborate retirement matches and ceremonies. This is, according to Meltzer, he said Bruno Sammartino, Vern Gagne, Terry Funk, Nagayo, Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, Randy Savage. The list goes on. Dynamite Kid, Conan, Blue Demon, Bill Watts, Hulk Hogan, Animal Hamaguchi. And he said, I bet you know where this is going. How many of these wrestlers actually never wrestled again after having major retirement matches? He said, the answer is 2. Matsumoto and Choshu are the only ones that have never come back. And at this point, even Ricky Steamboat, they mentioned on this list, every one of those guys comes back. So anyone that wants to get mad about wrestlers retiring and then coming back, they have all this pomp and circumstances. It's in the wrestler's blood. They want to come back if there's a payday. They're going to come back.
Yeah.
Don't be mad.
We've heard Flair echo it thousands of times. It's been in promos. I'll never retire. He wasn't wrong, man.
Meltzer says the truth of the matter is old wrestling superstars have emotional ceremonies to major fanfare retirements like the superstars in real sports. They may have those farewells, but they always come back, either living off their fading names until they disappear to no fanfare long after all, but their most loyal fans wouldn't care any longer. Or many years after the big retirement, they have another final match in an unknown town to little fanfare and just do a slow fade from the scene, and they are never heard about again. Or they become like Arn Anderson or Paul Orndorff, where they suffer injuries so severe they simply can't come back. It's interesting here because, again, I just thought it was fascinating with the fact that people get so upset about these false retirements, and it's like Ric Flair is the one that people always go to. But this is everybody. Even Bret Hart and Hogan, as I mentioned, tease retiring, and it always happens. They come back until they can't because they're wrestlers. They love doing it.
Listen, Bret even came back like later down the line when he shouldn't have been in the ring and doing hokey shit. And like, did we count it? Yeah, he was in the ring. It was a match. It's goofy.
So the Roddy Piper part was funny too, because he said perhaps Roddy Piper really believed he was walking away on top to go into movies and would never need to return. Meltzer says only to return 1,000 times. Others probably retire specifically to set up an eventual coming out of retirement angle. With every name, there is probably a different story and a different reason. And then he talks about the Inoki retirement 4-4, and he said with the possible exception of Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan, Inoki was arguably the biggest wrestling star of the generation, maybe bigger, if only because he spanned many different generations. And without question, he was the most influential wrestler of the modern era. So we talk about Fed Brain, put it on that hat and talking about WWE and WWF and us, our North American perspective. I don't think we talk about Antonio Inoki enough. And I don't know, maybe it's just like the wrestling historians know better than us. But this guy, even included with guys like Hogan and Andre the Giant, they're saying this is Meltzer, wrestling historian. He's seen it all pretty much since 1987. He's saying that Inoki is the biggest, most influential star. What do you think about that?
It's crazy. I got to do some more Antonio Inoki deep diving because I don't know too much. I haven't watched him that many performances of his. So I'd be interested to kind of check it out because it's something, you know. I don't know. It's crazy. I could see it though. I absolutely can. I mean, he's still talked about to this day, very, very highly, an innovator in Japan. And I mean, the dude was trying to make wrestling come together with the Inoki mania. I was looking forward to it, man. It would have been great, but yeah, I mean, he was trying. Like he's definitely had a good stigma about him, at least.
We talked about the money made at the Fleet Center at WrestleMania, so let me just throw these numbers at you right here. Woo. This retirement match in the Tokyo Dome was in front of 70,000 paying fans for approximately $7 million gate and approximately $2.6 million in merchandise, which includes the sale of 30,000 programs at $20, which may have set another all-time pro wrestling record of $37.14 per head in merchandise. And combined with the TV right to put the one-day figure well in excess of $10 million. Woo. Holy shit. In 1998, this is insane.
Yeah. It's madness. I mean, that's with inflation, that's got to be like Benzo money, Bezos money.
It's crazy to even look at those numbers, and like we're all like, wow, great job WWF with WrestleMania, and that's peanuts compared to what was made at the Tokyo Dome. And I guess a lot of what we're saying here is just like, I mean, wrestling in Tokyo and Japan is much different than here. And when Antonio Inoki says he's retiring, people are showing up to see it, and they want to buy a piece of that day, the programs, the shirts, something to take home with them.
Yeah, 100%, man.
And the other person that was in attendance, which brought a lot of fanfare, was Muhammad Ali, the world's most famous athlete during his time and perhaps of all time, and the man who 22 years earlier had a horrible yet legitimate match against Inoki that, as the memories have faded, has been romanticized into being legendary and in hindsight was of incredible historical importance. So crazy to think we talked about this, and that's something I learned by doing the research is there was once the celebrity match, Inoki versus Muhammad Ali. And, you know, we talked about Mike Tyson and Stone Cold. There was precedent set. They could have done it.
Yeah. It was a shit show, though.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just because Muhammad Ali didn't want to sell. But, I mean, I guess Mike Tyson would have been in the same boat, right?
Yeah, no, could you see Mike Tyson? I could see Mike Tyson taking a stunner, maybe, but not after he knocked out a few people.
Has Tyson bumped at all in his wrestling? I don't think at all, right? He's never, even the
No,
Jericho stuff in 09, never.
not even slightly. But I think I sent you a link for it, but it was him talking about when Undertaker was on Mike Tyson's podcast. He was talking about how he felt when he was in the middle of the ring, and he's like, "I'm a kid," and like you could see it. Like he would have done anything, I think, that wasn't outside of his bubble, that didn't make him look bad, that wouldn't have hindered his career. I could see him taking a stunner or a super kick even. Like, let's fucking go, man.
So we got an update on Shawn Michaels, and this is according to Meltzer. To the best of anyone's knowledge, Michaels didn't aggravate his back injury seriously at WrestleMania since he never went to the doctor after the show. Michaels went in suffering from 2 herniated discs and is now going to rest of his back and hopefully get his other problems under control as the weeks leading to Mania. People had been nicknaming him Louie. So I'm not sure exactly what that means as far as Louis. Maybe that's something to do with drug use. I'm not sure. There is no expected timetable when it comes to his return. If rest heals his back, he'll return at the time. If his back doesn't heal with rest, he'll need back surgery, which will keep him out of action much longer. Yeah, interesting. I got to find out what that means with the Louis thing, because obviously it has something to do with his extracurriculars, I would say.
Yeah, it sounds. I feel like I've heard the term before, but it's one of those things like you haven't heard it since the 90s. So, but I'm curious now too.
We also had no current plans to use Mike Tyson again, and Meltzer says the door hasn't been shut on the idea in the future, but nothing is on paper yet. Consideration has been given to an idea of having Tyson and Austin work together for WWF at the Tokyo Dome. I guess they probably saw the Inoki thing. We're like, $7 million sounds nice. We also had Terry Funk suffering a bad bruise, but had no internal bleeding or broken bones from the dumpster match. And this is funny because the only reason I bring up this, because Terry Funk's always banged up, but this is what they're comparing him to. He was resisting attempts by those in the company to try and get him to be examined when they saw the bruise. And Meltzer says, this is not meant as a knock on Shawn Michaels, but people are acting like his performance at Mania was some kind of an unheard of gutsy deal, but it pales in comparison to what Funk has done. Tons of others wrestlers have done to do regularly time after time. In 1989, Funk broke his back and 3 weeks later had 4+ star matches on successive nights against Sting and Flair. Funk was canceled from the European tour and replaced by Skull and 8 Ball, but will work on the 413 tapings in Philly. Interesting. I mean, Terry Funk's a different breed, bro. Like, it's not like we're comparing two different types of people. Terry Funk he can have his arm hanging off and he's working the next day. Come on.
Yeah, he has a bowl of nuts and bolts with whiskey for breakfast. Like, it's not cereal milk. Like, Funk's just built different, man.
With Rocky Maivia bleeding from his mouth during the match against Ken Shamrock, apparently was legit, as he suffered a bruised lung and was bleeding internally from the Shamrock match. That became a spot for Shamrock over time. Like I said this on the air, anytime I wrestled someone with the Ken Shamrock figure, I always use red washable marker to put red on their mouth when they were wrestling Shamrock, because everybody was internally bleeding, and Shamrock himself too was always internally bleeding. I don't know what it was. They always put the blood pack in his mouth.
It's a good spot because you're not bleeding, I guess, and then you get the little packet in your mouth. You get to sell it a little bit more. You're like, oh, it's got a good visual. I don't know. I'm here for it though. We need more mouth bleeding in pro wrestling.
Well, that's going to do everything we have for the newsletter here. We're going to say goodbye to our newsletter with a little Vic Vent.
You want fluff? Go eat a marshmallow.
All right. With that being said, it's time to get our fix. Let's talk about the 3 Monday Night Raws at the end of March and through the beginning of April, man. We got a lot to get into.
Get your fix.
All right, here we go with the night after WrestleMania. And this becomes a big, big deal for debuts. And it's not quite there yet. This is not like the same WrestleMania night after Raw with the same crowd, the traveling crowd. We'll get there, though. We did have a debut. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we didn't have a debut. But the night after WrestleMania on Raw really became special. It's been lacking certain years, but it definitely has a certain flair to it. Are there certain Raws after WrestleMania that you remember very fondly, Mike Belcaster?
Oh, what was the the Fandango, obviously, like that was a
Okay.
huge one. It was that was also the same night with the beach ball where Cesaro punted it in the crowd. You know, like it had
Okay.
I think the NXT crowd really brought in that Raw after Mania vibe, because that's what it was. They took because it was all the NXT guys and they were ready for the call ups. They were ready
Yep.
to start singing their theme music. It was you felt the energy, and it was like a rugby crowd, or a European football crowd. Like you really got on board with hijacking the show, right? Because that's what it was all about. But I mean, the Raws after Manias were always it always felt like a reset for me. You know, that's your time to take what you did last night, set the roadmap for the year. And I always feel like they semi kind of done that. They have fallen off here and there, but I mean, the Raw after Mania, man, you got the whole outlook of the rest of the season. We're ready to play, boys.
I agree with you. And the one that comes to my mind is the Ziggler cash in on Del Rio. That was in the night after WrestleMania in Jersey, the one where it was Rock Cena and then Punk and Taker. That next night was insane. I'm pretty sure it was at the Prudential Center. But yeah, nights after WrestleMania always were exciting because you have the traveling international crowd that comes in. And I don't know. I think it's been lacking as of late, but there's always the chance that, like you mentioned before, the debuts in NXT, there might be a debut of a guy that was signed. They wait till the day after. I remember Umaga debuted the night after a WrestleMania 1 year. I think it was after WrestleMania 21. I want to say, because he was at 22 the next year.
That makes sense, yeah.
Or no, he was at 23, so it might have been the night after WrestleMania 22, because he wrestled that 23 was his first when he wrestled Bobby Lashley with the hair versus hair with Trump and McMahon. So all good stuff. But let's get into the show. They opened the show, obviously, showing Austin winning the last night. And unfortunately for everyone involved, the highlight will live forever with a fast count from Mike Tyson. He didn't know what he was doing. It was a fast count, though. He was just excited. So the newspapers, they show all the media covering it. He was like a little kid in the ring, man. He was just excited.
He's a little kid, man.
And Sean stayed down, though. To his credit, he didn't do like a 3.8 kick out. It was truly, Austin definitely winning. And all the discussion we had before and everyone that was talking in the back, maybe Shawn Michaels wouldn't have done business. He did, and wrestling's better for it. Now we can sit here and say the Austin era truly has begun.
Where's the lie? Where's the lie?
You want raw? I'll get downright nasty.
All right, so we open the show. Vince McMahon comes out, and as you mentioned so beautifully in the earlier segment, he has a new WWF belt. He holds the title up, and we talked about the Winged Eagle. It was damaged goods. When Austin's holding at WrestleMania 14, so I dare you guys to go back and check the highlights. These side plates are hanging off. The thing has seen better days, which is why it becomes the Hardcore Championship, and that is going to happen this year. I think we're going to get the debut of the Hardcore Championship prior to Survivor Series, because Mick Foley gets it, because that's sort of the tongue-in-cheek joke that Vince does. Like, he's not the corporate champion, but here, we made this championship for you, and it's the shitty, broken down championship. And dude, correct me, every kid during that era, the most important championship to them was the Hardcore Championship. I wanted that shit. I beat the shit out of my replica WWF Championship and made my own Hardcore title with duct tape. No joke. It was my favorite title in the Attitude Era.
I can't disagree. I love it. I took all my old like Jack Specific belts, and I would smash the shit out of them. Rip because the Bone Crunchers had those rubber belts, so you like tear them in pieces, cut them with scissors, make it look all dinky until they made one that was suitable, right? But it was a fluffer.
Why did that blue tape? I don't understand why that blue tape. I've never understood it.
Never got it. Never understood the build quality of it. But listen, it worked, and it got us. It was over, man. I loved it, but it always felt like it was like hey Mick, like you're not good enough to be the guy, but like have this really crappy title we found for you because you're part of the family, you're part of the crew, man.
So we get this segment. Obviously, Stone Cold gets called out by Vince. He's holding the Winged Eagle that's seen better days, as we mentioned. Vince presents him with the new title, and Vince is trying his best to turn over a new leaf and recognize, okay, we've had our differences in the past. You and I have not seen eye to eye, but let's try to do best for business and figure out a way to like get on the same page, because I understand you're popular with the fans, and Austin doesn't have any of it, right, Mike?
Uh, I love you. Wait, what? We got this is the first ever what chant, by the way. No, well,
Yeah, that's
chant,
true.
but we got the first what? What'd you say, Vin? I said I love you. I love you too, you goofy bastard. It's so good, man. Very good dynamics here, and this is something that Vince gets credit for, but like it's missing in wrestling. You needed this villainy guy, but he was very cowardice in this very the launching start of the Austin era. Like he was just like, oh, whoa, hey, I don't want any trouble. I just want you to be the guy. I love you. You know, like it plays off so damn smooth. It makes for compelling TV even to this day.
And this ends the only way anything ends with Austin in the ring. He stuns Vince McMahon and the fans go nuts. Austin then tells everyone that they have seen what Stone Cold is doing and he's going to do things the hard way. And the crowd gives him a hell yeah. And if they want to continue doing things the hard way and they respond enthusiastically. So Austin runs around the ring and he whispers something to JR, which is awesome. And Vince just looks shell shocked. He's like looking at the sky, like, I tried my best. This is going to be one hell of a ride with Austin as my champion. This was a great segment to open Raw.
Absolutely. It really got you set and ready to roll into, the whole 1998 era. Like you're pumped for it.
And by the way, I didn't say where we were. We're in Albany, New York, the Pepsi Center, by the way. I want to make that clear. Albany, New York is closer to Canada than it is to Long Island, but still, New Yorkers, they're still part of us. And we get Vince being tended to the back. He's looking, like I said, confused as all hell. And we get the opening match of the night. And it's a quick one. The LOD taking on the Los Boricuas. So it's a team of Road Warrior Animal and Road Warrior Hawk who made their re-debut, LOD 2000. They have Sonny in their corner. Los Boricuas is, of course, Jesus Castillo and Jose Estrada. This match goes all of 34 seconds. LOD, I think every one of the Maxwell Jacob Friedman water breaks was more than 34 seconds. So this was a squash. Obviously, LOD gets the win. Sonny calls them a mix of steel and sex appeal. And that's the segment. LOD goes over strong here over Los Boricuas.
It did the job, right? It wasn't a bad match by any means. It got LOD over. Sonny's, I remember her being so much more important when I was a kid. Now it's just like, I don't know if time tarnished her legacy, obviously, but
you don't say. I would say a little.
Yeah, but you're watching her now. You're just like, fine. Like I don't even want her on my screen.
I know you want me. I know you want me. And Sonny, like as you said, she's in the corner of LOD, but we have Kevin Kelly in the back, and he wants a word from Vince. And Vince said he has called the police and wants Austin arrested. And this is like the first of how many times we see police involvement with Austin and him just to create like bread and butter, man. You throw law enforcement and Vince upset and Austin getting arrested. It just creates for really dynamic television. And in between this, we get sort of a Cactus Jack and a Terry Funk segment where they're being stripped of the championships. What do you make of this? Like, what they said it was a technicality. I was confused. We will get the tag team championship match later in the night. Why were they stripped? Did you catch that?
It felt like me and you were on the same page as Vince was after he got stunned. We were confused as hell. We had no idea what was going on. No, I didn't understand it. It's a stupid angle too. Like, just if you're going to do the match later, even like just do the fucking match. And like, I don't know, maybe I guess there's like this, oh, we're going to take it away from you. And then we're going to take it away from you twice kind of gimmick. But like, what did it do? It didn't serve any purpose.
So we lead into Kurgan taking on Change in probably what's going to be the 1998 work rate match of the year. So lead us through and talk about what goes on with this match.
Talk about things serving no purpose. This
got Don Callis though, man. This is his god. He serves the god of Kenny, Omega, and Kurgan, right?
Yeah, no. Listen, we got something good out of it at least. I want to just go to a Dynamite show with the jewel on my forehead and just stare at him like as hard as I can. Yeah, this was nothing spectacular. It was a 2-minute match. Kurgan's getting this rub for whatever reason, and I'm okay with it because I don't like chains. I don't like 8-ball. I'm good on this shit. So give Kurgan the rub. I'm all right with it. He choked him out. And it was the end of it. It was good. It was whatever.
In the middle of the match, they were showing Vince out in the parking lot talking to Briscoe and Slaughter. So They were taking from WCW's playbook where they were like using a match as background noise when they were, especially so many nitros that they did that. And it creates this reality-based programming where anything can happen. Even if a match is in the ring, there's things going on. It's a living, breathing atmosphere that is the locker room. And that's what they did here. So even though Chains and Kurgan were battling it out for the match of the year in the ring, Vince is out talking to Briscoe and Slater. So like you mentioned, Kurgan got the win, 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Yeah, I mean, what's the plan for Kurgan going forward? It's clear that DOA's done as a team, but also Kurgan, we're going to see the oddity soon. We have to see him, right? Like
it's here. South Park shirts.
We saw John Tenta in the news there, so like he's there. Luna is on the roster.
Still blows my mind that John Tenta was the fucking guy in the Cartman shirt.
Golga is his name, my friend.
There you go. It's just but mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing.
All right, here we go. We have a commercial break, and they are walking to the arena together. Vince has a swagger, and Vince tells police where Austin's dressing room is, and then we go right to the Tennessee Lee introducing Double J. So there's like very weaved in stories that, like, obviously the stuff is like this can be throughout the whole show. Vince and Austin and the police can be the whole show, and we're gonna get matches that happen despite what's going on in the main story. But that kept you intrigued because you have to sit through some of the boring monotony of these matches to stay tuned with what's the hottest act. And that's the beautiful part. If you tune in for Vince and Austin, you're getting it throughout the whole show. You're not just tuning in the first or the main. You got to watch the whole Raw because you don't know where they're going to pop up. It's in the middle of matches, it's before matches, it's after matches. It's beautifully done, beautifully booked.
Yeah, and it's a formula they continue with too, and which it works. It works really well. Like you want to know what's going on, and those little breaks way better than picture in picture nowadays. Like it made like because who gives a shit about Kurgan? That was the whole reason why Kurgan was wrestling, because it really made the Vince thing shine more because you're like, oh shit, something's happening there in the match. Vince has got the cops. God damn it, yes, yeah.
So we get no breaks during this match, but it is Jeff Jarrett getting the win over Aguila in 2 minutes and 38 seconds. So not much to talk about here. All you need to know is that no light heavyweight is ever going to beat a heavyweight in the WWF or WCW. That's a unwritten rule in the 90s and the Attitude Era of the Monday Night Wars. It doesn't happen until much later. This wasn't a great match. It didn't emphasize any of Aguila's personal attributes. Jeff Jarrett was very slow. Yeah, not great. Obviously, Tennessee Lee gets involved, but Double J and Steve Blackman are building towards their feud as well, which who gives a real shit about this? Then we lead into Vince McMahon and crew looking for Austin, and the cops now have Austin, and Austin's yelling, and he's making a scene, and he shoves some of the cops, and then Vince is yelling in his face and says Austin deserves to be arrested, that he's going where he belongs, and Austin warns him that it will get out soon, and Austin gets in the car being carted off, and he's just absolutely pissed. Classic shit, man. Vince, like I said, this is just the budding of what is going to be an absolute legendary feud. I don't think people actually knew exactly how legendary this was.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I love how Vince is almost complete opposite of what we know Vince as in these beginning months, because he's like this coward, and he's just like, yeah, I called the cops on you, you dumb piece of shit, and like Austin's pissed, and like, but he's like, you know, he feels high and mighty about it, and like it really sells well, and it's like intertwining an episode of Cops with the best pro wrestling storylines, you know. So you're like, how can you not love it?
So following the commercial break, we get Vince and all his cronies. We get Briscoe, Slaughter coming into the ring, and Vince is in the ring, and he says he owes the fans an explanation. He asked for some respect, and they're just booing even louder. He's like the biggest heel in the roster. And he said perhaps in the state of mind Austin was in a 24-hour cooling off period was in order, and he gave Stone Cold a choice. And he chose his, and damn it, Vince chose his too, and he swaggers off. And this is not the birth of the Mr. McMahon character. I know we keep saying this, but it certainly feels like he's there. The swagger's there, the heel persona. And this is such an important part of WWF. They need that head figurehead that everyone wants to rally against. And Vince is the perfect enemy for all of these wrestlers. It's so good. Like, yeah, that's what's missing from, and I understand like the figurehead, the leadership, Adam Pearce, whatever. They did Teddy Long, Paul Heyman, Stephanie. Go down the list of these guys. Eric Bischoff was the GM of Raw. No one will ever be Vince Voss. Like, he is the guy on TV that's just, he's insurmountable.
Yeah, and like he really played it up as he's the millionaire, cocky, douchebaggy guy, and like eventually that becomes the Vince character. But like this cowarding Vince here, this is shit we don't see enough of. I love it because he's just like, yeah, I got him arrested. Like it's
Well,
basically Vince being a Karen, and it's working out so damn well.
and it's so good because he's only cocky when Austin's in jail. He can't hurt him. So now
Yeah.
he's out there swaggering around. It's like, it's awesome. But we know that eventually, and that's why you're watching. You want Austin to come back out here and beat the shit out of Vince. And we know it's going to happen. That's why you stay tuned in. And that's why wrestling was so captivating during this time. This storyline,
Yeah.
truly.
100%.
So we have the Nation in the back, and Jim Ross was asking The Rock about last night, and The Rock tells him, shut up, know your role, and shut your mouth. Rock's upset. And again, Ken Shamrock is trying to end his career. And then we get him turning to Farouk and tells him that he opened The Rock's eyes because if it was not for Farouk, he would not be the champ. And as successful as he is now, he thanks him for it. And after tonight, the Nation will only be stronger. A little swerve here. You know what I mean? Like this is the equivalent of Jey Uso hugging Sami Zayn last night on Raw, or Monday night, I should say. But we know the Nation's breaking up. We know Farouk, I should say, is leaving the Nation. The Rock and Farouk cannot coexist. And this is to make you think maybe, just maybe they can.
Yeah. I'm very loving this storyline too. That's the good thing. Like there's these really shitty matches going on the card, but the meat is really in this storytelling here. You got Vince, Austin, the Farouk and Rock shit intertwined with the Nation, Ken Shamrock. Like it's just so good, captivating, and you can't wait. Like you're expecting it, and you can't wait for the Rock to just be like, I'm done. Fuck this guy.
Which leads us into our next match here. It's the Nation of Domination, which is the team of Farouk and The Rock with D'Lo, Kama, and Mark Henry in their corner, taking on the team of Ken Shamrock and Steve Blackman, two of the more badass guys. One does karate, one does ultimate fighting, and they're going to kick your goddamn ass. Tell us about this match.
I mean, they should have kicked their goddamn asses. It was a lot longer than I was anticipating from what we've seen. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. We were getting really deep into it. But this was just a ploy. This was just to get The Rock more time to shit all over Farouk. And I don't know about you, but I mean, Farouk's always been this badass character, and it's cool to see him kind of like in shambles, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And The Rock's just like, fuck this guy. But awesome way to end it. The belly to belly from Mark Henry. Oh, baby Mark Henry is fantastic looking, and that was my takeaway from this match. Was like, God, look at him. He earned that fucking action figure.
Mark Henry's like a level 1 Pokemon. Like he is not quite evolved yet, but he's
a
gonna be
Machamp,
quite
you know?
the fucking master boss in only a few years. But yeah, I agree.
love it.
Baby Mark Henry's fun in this era of the Nation.
It was so good, but The Rock and Farouk, you know, they're building so much more. The Nation's totally on The Rock side. They don't want anything to do with Farouk, that old timer, that fucking punk ass WCW champion. It was good. I enjoyed this very, very much so.
Yeah, so seeing Farouk get booted from the Nation, this was a really huge moment for The Rock. I mean, he hits him with the rock bottom. It's definitive. It's not by accident like we've seen over the course of time. It was premeditated. And The Rock, as you mentioned, is the de facto leader at this point, and the Nation supports him. So he's the leader, the ruler of the Nation, and he gives Farouk one final stomp, and we say goodbye to Farouk's Nation. And it's interesting because we now have The Rock's Nation, and we lead right into the segment into Triple H's DX, who are going to be doing war throughout this year. And this is the next segment here. This is the famous segment. I mean, this is what most people remember from this Raw. Triple H coming in. He has JR. There's a rift clearly in DX, and Shawn Michaels isn't there, and everybody knows without Shawn, maybe there's no DX. But Triple H says, you look to your buddies, you look to your friend, to the X-PAC.
You went a little wobbly. The holler that kicked in.
I was saying that X-PAC got a really good reaction. What do you think about that?
Oh, goddamn, did he ever? He got a great the cool thing is like we're not super deep into this season yet, but we basically went from seeing Triple H as like a hokey partner sidekick background character. And right here is where, like, I was talking about how we're seeing the evolution of Triple H kind of taking over into his role, and it was more apparent after the casket match with Taker and Shawn. But this was, he grabbed the bull by the horns with this promo, and he's like, "You dropped the ball, Shawn. I'm taking over." And X-PAC comes out, fucking huge pop, and even big, a very felt off the cuff shoot promo. And it was amazing, calling out Bischoff, calling out Hogan, calling out WCW, talking about Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, using shoot names that not Razor and Diesel, which you would think of coming from a WWF product, like Razor, Diesel, but no, it was Scott and fuck Kevin. It was huge. And then you get I always thought, like, you watch China when X-Pac's doing this promo and Triple H, like, they both kind of seem like, oh shit, like, what is he gonna say? Like you really felt like Shawn just got the blessing to go out there and do his thing, stick it to the guys, have fun with it, let's fucking do it, suck it. It was beautiful. It was really, really fucking awesome, man.
It really is, man. And I think what I was saying, I think before the holler night kicked in, was just like calling to your friends, calling to your buddies, calling to the clique was the theme of this. It was like I mentioned before, X-Pac being the guy to replace Shawn, or Triple H is replacing Shawn, and I guess X-Pac's replacing Triple H in the roles. And of course, the New Age Outlaws joining DX later in the night. This is something that, if it was not for X-Pac, if it was not for the fact that Eric Bischoff's ego got in the way and fired Shawn, I don't know who it could have been. I mean, you could have just went to war with Triple H in China and then you bring the Outlaws in, but I really think as much as a mid-carder as X-Pac was, he's a European champion, he's a tag champion. He's so important to what the Attitude Era was. He really, like, I don't know if I'm one of the biggest X-Pac fans, but when you watch him and his mannerisms, he is DX. Like, he is the new generation of DX, more so than anybody. Like, I truly believe that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He has not only the outlook of the rebel, but he comes from foreign lands with the Outsiders and WCW. So having that is just unbelievable. So he comes out, of course he's going to be not only lightning hot with the crowd, but he's so influential to the roster. His matches quality are fucking through the roof. X-Pac is always a solid ass performer, man.
And a lot of the pundits and researchers talk about this segment as the ratings going through the roof for this promo. So yeah, I mean, it spoke to people. I'm sure that people were calling their friends, like, you won't believe who's on this channel. Turn off Nitro and get to Raw for a sec. And that was like, that's fun. You and I spoke about that, and we waxed poetic about the time and place where you're sitting on the phone, someone's watching Nitro, someone's watching Raw, and this is before phones. Like, you're so locked into what's going on the screen.
You got the long cord hanging from the wall. You're like, what's going on? Like, turn it on.
So good. And we also, I mean, this is another, I mean, again, maybe this is like the first ever WrestleMania, Raw after WrestleMania, because then we get the vignette for Val Venus.
Hello, lady.
So we get Val Venus. We talked about Sean Marley. He was at the Dory Funk Jr. dojo, and they were talking about him training. He was a standout. He might have been the new Midnight Express, but no, they gave him the porn star gimmick, and he goes right in, man. Yeah. I mean, he goes. When he penetrates the WWF and all the ladies, they will be squealing with delight, and they will all get all of Val Venus. So, yeah. So Val Venus, like, they waste no time. They want to make sure they have their porn star for the Attitude Era, and Val Venus took it and ran. And I remember talking about action figures. I remember when that figure came out, one of the worst likenesses of his face, horrible figure, but it came with the terry cloth. It came with the terry cloth.
Yeah, you needed it. Absolutely. It was funny. As I was watching this, I was on a work call, and I was like, paying attention. And then it cuts from DX to heavy panting. And I'm like, oh shit. It's like, well, then hello, lady. It's like, bring it on. Let's fucking go. But it's a hokey gimmick, but I was a big Val Venus fan too, man. I loved watching Val Venus wrestle. I thought the character as a kid, fucking 11, 12 years old, you're like, this dude's the man, bro. Like, you fucking idiot little kid. But it worked. It really did. He struck his little own lightning in his own little bottle.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I want them to bring back these types of characters, but this is the way to book your mid-carders to mean something. And you look at the mid-card here, and that's been one of the biggest complaints about AEW in the recent booking is that whether you're in the world title, and if it's not involving the world title, there's really no other significant programs going on that mean anything to the audience. And it feels like there's so much shit going on this Raw, whether it be Vince and Austin, The Nation, DX, Val Venus debut, and then of course you get the Mark Mero Sable stuff going on. Of course, the tag team champions. There's like 5 or 6 like real tangible stories that are happening. And this is why and again, we were very critical of 1998, the first couple episodes, but I feel like we're finally hitting that stride. Like, damn, this is pretty good shit. And once you get past the work sucks and like, you're just that wrestling is not on this card, I think then you're like, all right, I can immerse myself in this product.
If we would have covered a Nitro where almost every match on the show, I mean, literally every match on the show is under 5 minutes, and that's barely, I mean, every match has been like a 2 to 3 minute match, maybe one, we would have been like, what the hell is this shit? But here, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not about what's going on in the ring. It's about everything else. The in-ring stuff is what storytelling was, and in 97, 96, like it's beautiful, man.
So our next match here is not worth covering at length. It's Mark Mero getting the win over Taka Michinoku in 1 minute and 36 seconds. And it's just to advance more of the Sable Mark Mero stuff. Sable's checking on Taka. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just pissed that Taka lost this match, burying the light heavyweight champion, fresh off a win at WrestleMania. Now what you do? What's the point of having Taka job to Mero? Why can't someone else do the job to Mero? If it's going to be a quick match, don't put Taka in that spot.
Yeah, just to see Goldust come out dressed in drag afterwards, like it's not like it has no like why you got to do that? I would have seen Taka wrestle anybody else tonight and would have been happy. Give me Ken Shamrock and Taka, would have been great.
So we get 3 mystery people attacking Taka. And I think this will be Kai and Tai, right? This is the first origins of Kai and Tai. I think we're going to see Val Venus, just the vignette, and we're going to see Choppy Pee-Pee coming up. That's going to be some
Choppy Pee-Pee.
Choppy Val Venus's Pee-Pee, which is a good fucking story if you really think about it, because of Val Venus. Like, it is actually a decent story at heart. I mean, aside from, like, obviously he's trying to use lust. I mean, going after, it's crazy. I remember being like mortified as a kid, like thinking about that happening when he's like tied up in the locker room, choppy Pee-Pee.
They left a very good visual, right? So they did the job. It wasn't like it I bet you it's got more heat on it than we remember. We're probably gonna be like, fuck those guys for fucking going after Valvina.
Well, they were like old school, like Yakuza guys. Like before Kai and Tai became Taka and Funaki doing like the goofy gimmick and Indeed and all that stuff. It was pretty much a heel faction that was just badass guys coming in and causing chaos. And Taka was their first target. I mean, I guess Taka eventually joins them. I forget how that all goes down, but it should be fascinating.
Yeah, no, super fascinating. I'm here for it.
All right, so we also have the NWA World Tag Team Championship on the line. Headbangers defending their championships, which is Mosh and Thrasher, against the New Midnight Express, which is Bodacious Bart and Bombastic Bob, with Jim Cornette and Dan Severn in the corner. I said a lot there, so tell me about this match that goes only 4 minutes and 2 seconds.
Listen, I've never thought I would lose respect for Jim Cornette coming into this season. He is such a pipsqueak, annoying little prick right now. And like, it's like, maybe it could be said the same nowadays, but I could listen to Cornette talk for a few hours and not be like, oh, I wasted my time. This is not the same. I feel like I wasted the whole 4 minutes here. This NWA angle just completely shits the bed. Dan Severn looks like my fucking my gym teacher from high school. Like I'm like the big mustache, the really uncomfortable looking suit. It was an okay match, man. Obviously the bangers aren't getting a good push here. We got Bodacious Bart and Bombastic Bob pick up the win. It was just okay. I didn't think it was anything. And they won the tag titles, but what do they actually mean? You know what I mean? What do the NWA Tag Team Championship actually means, especially defended before the real tag titles? Like what's that booking understanding? Like, who cares about the NWA Tag Team Championship? Who cares? Listen, bro. You want the fluff?
You want fluff? Go eat a marshmallow.
That's the booking decision. But yeah, a
So
weird segment.
before we get to the main event, we have Austin on the phone, and he wants the announcer to tell Vince that he's sorry for something. And he said that Vince's ass
With his one
belongs to Stone
call.
Cold.
His one
uses
call, he
one
calls
phone call
JR.
to talk shit to Vince. What a fucking badass Stone Cold Steve Austin is. Holy shit. He uses one phone call to say, I'm going to whip your ass next week. Amazing.
It works. And now you're hooked. You were like, fuck, I can't wait until next week.
And that's why you buy your Stone Cold blanket from the shopping network the night after WrestleMania, because you love the guy. You just love him.
Yeah. It's nice, warm feelings. You know?
All right, so they're setting up the cage. This is the old school cage, so it takes a little bit to put up. It's not hanging in the rafters. They're putting it together as we speak. And while that's happening, here comes Kane. And Paul Bearer tells The Undertaker to behold his brother. And they continue to have a conversation about what happened last night. And I understand Kane lost last night at WrestleMania, but Kane is acting like he got the one-upmanship on his brother. And he said after Paul returned to the hotel last evening, he was awoken by a dream. And in that dream, he saw a wrestling ring and it's surrounded by fire. In that ring, he saw Kane standing all alone, and he challenges Taker to step into the ring, an Inferno match. So that wants to be coming up. We're going to get the Inferno match. Really cool visual. I remember seeing it, and the memorable spot Taker doing the plancha over the flames, and the flames rise.
Yeah,
good way to spread the time between while you're building the cage. You know what I mean? Like this is good use of time.
As I was building my Raw's War Mattel Creations ring today, I was like, I wonder how I can make this pyro match gimmick look, make it work a little bit, because it was a great visual. I wish they would have done it more, but I understand why they didn't. I mean, the ropes could fucking light on fire. So much error for injury. But goddamn, does it look good.
Which leads us to our main event. The New Age Outlaws, Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg, taking on Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie in a steel cage match for now the vacant WWF Tag Team Championship. And this is a cage match, the shortest cage match in the history of pro wrestling, 4 minutes and 41 seconds. All four are starting out, slugging out in the ring. In the beginning, Terry Funk gets his shirt torn off. Cactus Jack's choking out Billy Gunn. Gunn's now hung upside down on the cage, and Jack runs into him. We get a whole bunch of shit going on. Road Dogg runs over and kicks Jack. He was tied, not cuffed. And we get Jack is hanging over the cage, and here comes DX. X-PAC uses the chair on Jack's head a few times, falls in the ring. We get the spike pile driver into the chair. Road Dogg does the worm before pinning him, and they all attack Cactus Jack. So it looks like the Outlaws are now officially joining DX. They wasted no time. They keep on beating on Jack, and X-PAC hits the suck it on top of Terry Funk and Cactus Jack's down bodies. Triple H breaks the chair over Jack's head, and there's hugs all around, and the fans are pumped. I remember seeing this as a kid. This is a moment, man, where you got the old school cage, brutal cage. One of my favorites, by the way. The blue cage.
I love the blue steel and the black steel. I thought the black steel had nice appeal to it, and I was not trying to do Dr. Seussism right there.
So the announcers apparently while we were talking before, I looked up why they got rid of the titles off them, and apparently there was a lawyer for the New Age Outlaws claiming the wrong dumpster was used, so they stripped them of the titles. Which is come on, you're right though. Like, if you're gonna have the Outlaws go over, just put Cactus and Chainsaw in the match and have them lose. They have a one night reign. Like, why?
What was the purpose of it? You know, call the dumpster patrol. Like, fuck it. I want my titles back.
Dude, this was a great Raw, by far the best Raw we've covered thus far. Not a lot of wrestling, but I think once we suspend that idea, we're like, okay, we're not going to see good wrestling. But we got so many memorable moments. The Rock now is the leader and de facto of the nation. X-PAC is now back, cuts a promo on and shoots on everybody, joins the X. The New Age Outlaws debut. Val Venus debuts with the vignette. Vince McMahon and Stone Cold go to war. Everything but Taka losing. Perfect fucking episode of Raw in the 90s.
Yeah,
perfect.
no. And I think that's the thing. We spoiled ourselves a little bit going so far back into the richness of cruiserweight divisions of WCW. We didn't have the channel flipping mechanism. You know, we were really enthralled enjoying that. We watched ECW. We come here and you're like, the fuck is Kurgan working a 1 minute and 32-second match for? But that's the thing. Now it doesn't matter. We got the fluff, man. We're getting marshmallows galore. It's doing great.
You want raw? I'll get downright nasty.
I love the guys.
So let's go to Syracuse, the Om Center War Memorial Arena. This is 4/6/1998, and we are hot on the heels of a great pay-per-view and a great follow-up. So here we go with this Raw, and it is off to a good start. Vince McMahon comes out to the ring, and the crowd is giving it to him. They're giving him the booze, and he's getting all the heat. And they're immediately starting an Austin chant, and he tells them, I need your attention. The boos get completely louder. And he said, last Monday when I had Austin arrested, it was the toughest decision I've ever made. And he's had second thoughts, and due to his benevolence, he has Austin released. Nevertheless, Steve Austin has learned his lesson. No longer will be considered a beer-swilling, trash-talking WWF champion. And tonight may be the proudest moment of Vince's career. And tonight we will see a new and improved Austin. The fans are confused. They're bewildered. They're upset. And he guarantees a new and improved Austin, and the crowd gets their money back if it's not. So we leave us wondering, what would the new improved Austin look like? Why did he release him from jail? All these questions, and the perfect hook to get you to stay. Like, what could possibly happen? They had me. It's great.
Yeah, no, it was good. And like Vince's mannerisms are just fucking stellar on these episodes. Like, I love, listen, we got a new and improved Stone Cold Steve Austin. we made it better. And like, it just completely oblivious to what the fuck's about to happen. And it's the best, absolute best.
So to lead into the show, we get Cornette, and right in front of him, we got Dan Severn. He's carrying a bunch of belts, and they're showing a video package of Dan Severn and MMA. Leads us into the match. You mentioned Flash Funk. I'll let you take the lead on this, taking on Dan Severn with Jim Cornette in his corner.
Oh yeah, we were spoiled. We got Flash Funk, and we got Too Cold Scorpio this week. This was actually I got a kick out of the Ultimo Dragon Dan Severn picture with Jim Cornette in the background, like holding all the belts, rocking that original UFC title too, which was pretty interesting. I was sure, it's
very
always
interesting,
fun when you see. Yeah, it's cool to see shit like that happen. I always mark out a little bit. It holds more importance than any of the NWA titles do in this point in time. So.
Very true.
Dope. I'm here for it. Yeah, if poor fucking Flash Funk though. This was obviously a put over for Dan Severn, but it was still a good outing. I thought it was fun. Like Funk was kind of getting his shit in a little bit, but Dan Severn's just doing his thing, man. And I love how they're trying to sell the armbar. Like, oh, if he pulls that arm back all the way, like he's gonna tap. But like he was fighting for it, man. He was like it looked good. It had quality. If this could have been a better match if it was longer and more thought out, but I thought it did the job for 2 minutes, fucking 50 seconds. It was fun. Dan Severn looks like a beast. Still, even though he looks like my gym teacher, like you're like, damn, gym teacher's cut, bro. Like it's like when the two kids get into a fight and like he comes out, you see the real side. Just fucking sit down. You're like, oh shit, like that's how Dan Severn feels. But it, like I said, good program. Weird putting him with corny, I guess, right? Like it's just a little off.
An NWA guy, I guess. I guess that's just the time. But you're right.
It works. You need a scrawny, pipsqueaky geek to be with the big buff guy with the mustache, man. But like I said, it did the job, man.
Which leads us to our next segment here. It's the new DX coming in the ring. Triple H gets to the mic and reminds everyone last week what he promised is a revolution, a change. The DX Army is pretty much born. And he said, Road Dogg, he points to Road Dogg. He has the mic belling that the WWF proudly brings us the tag team champions of the world. This might be one of the first times we see this segment here where he does that little routine that gets super over. The WWF tag team champions of the world. We get the introduction of X-PAC's app's new name. This is the first time they address him as X-PAC. He's no longer 6. And Triple H talks about how, they're going to take over. And this was this introduction past last week. It's no longer just a shoot. They're going to be putting the emphasis on taking over the WWF, and DX is off to the races, man. I love this version of DX. This is my DX. This is my version of them.
No, this is ideal. This is what you remember as DX. Like I honestly, like as a kid, I don't remember as much of Sean being DX as I do this. This was my DX, like as you just said, this is our DX, man. This is what we love. We got ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, T Generation X. Like you fucking fall for
Bradley brings to you.
It's
Sean
WWE
Nostalgia season 3.
But it like just hook, line, sinker, right? You're in, and even when they bring out the fucking water guns later down the road and like super soakers, and it's just there's enough camaraderie, enough goofy shit, but a very, very good portion of seriousness too. Like we're fucking doing this, like no matter what, and you're like, hell yeah, I'm on board, man. Suck it, give me a shirt. Where's my 5th grade teacher? Suck it, like it's the best.
Yeah, it's the faction of factions. To me, they're the benchmark at this point in the 90s. Like, and I understand you go Horseman, but like as far as Attitude Era goes, they're the bar as far as
100%.
what factions are. And you put them up against the NWO, and I think they both we saw how the WWF narrative spun it at WrestleMania against Sting and Triple H, but DX was so important. And I know that people want to go back to the Vince likes Cox era where it's the Vince and the Triple H and Shawn reunion. It's not the same. This stands above the rest of the DX when you have X-PAC, Triple H, and eventually you got the Outlaws joining, which we saw, which is awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
So they show Austin's dressing room, and after the break, we have DX messing with one of the stagehands. They spray paint DX all over the place. This was interesting to me because when they started breaking out the spray paint in like the newer generation PG version of DX, I didn't understand the spray paint, but here it is, live in living color.
Yeah.
You see some spray paint, so I guess it's within DX canon, so can't be as mad. So
yeah, fair enough. You know,
we get a quick match here, not quick enough. Steve Blackman defeated Brian Christopher. So during this match, obviously Brian Christopher gets some offense in. He does lose though. If we follow the tea leaves, no light heavyweight beats heavyweight. Like I'm going to stick it with it here. Taka lost. Brian Christopher lost. Why don't just put Brian Christopher versus Taka or Brian Christopher versus Aguila? Why do if they're going to lose to heavyweights, why? Just have them in their own division. So anyway, Steve Blackman gets the win. He's not undefeated anymore, but he's still very much a powerhouse in WWF, believe it or not. Yeah.
We got hollering at. Happened again. But not bad. It's just a little glitchy.
I was just saying that Steve Blackman got the win here. That's all I said.
Oh, yeah. And listen, that's exactly what you needed to say. That's all that mattered. I don't know why they would give this such a long time. Maybe because Lawler's kid's in it. It was a little mind-blowing. They didn't need they could have did this in 3 minutes. We would have been fine. I'm all right. Whatever. But yeah. Steve Blackman's just like Judo Joe. He's like, that's all we care about. We want to see him go out there and play with the sticks and leave. Like that's
So we have DX in the parking garage, and they are peeing on the Disciple Apocalypse's Mike motorcycles. Just more degenerate behavior from DX. And then we get Cactus Jack coming out with a neck brace and a chair, and Cactus grabs the mic and he says he's had a lot of bad things happen to him over the years, and it'll be damned to let DX put Cactus Jack away. He says Terry's not here tonight, but left a message on his answer machine, and he and Funk do not miss matches, so he must be really hurt. And he wishes people knew Funk more, as everyone in the back agrees he's the toughest old bastard alive. We talked about that in the newsletter. He is. And then he heard something about Austin, and people chanted his name, and now goes on about Dude Love, and people wanted Cactus Jack, and he gave every goddamn thing he got and said he wanted people chanting for Austin, and he and Austin go way back, and he's a fine champ. And he doesn't know if people want to see Cactus anymore. So this was a weird promo from Mick Foley. What did you think about this?
It was a weird promo from Mick Foley. Still a good promo though. Like I feel like he still had the passion. I don't know what he was trying to put over. Maybe that like this is it. You know, the swan song for Cactus Jack. Like maybe I'm not doing it anymore. And like he's trying to get Austin over, but it's you know, tears. You feel it when he walks down that ramp. He's just, you know, you feel the emotion. I don't want to see Cactus Jack leave. And this is good. This is his last run as Cactus Jack until his feud with Triple H, right?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, so this it's beautiful because you really forget about it because it was 2 years past, 3 years past, and then you're like, God damn, like bring the heat. Good callbacks. But yeah, I don't know. It was an okay Foley promo, but it was still a good promo, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was just set the stage for the Mankind stuff because he becomes a sympathetic character when he's trying to get Vince's love as the corporation pawn, that kind of thing. And we mentioned like it's almost like he becomes like a little kid. Like that becomes the gimmick of Mankind where he just wants Vince to love him and he gives him the hardcore title, as you mentioned. So we're going to see that. I guess they had to bridge the gap from Cactus to that moment with Mankind as that goofy character. So I guess this is how it happens. Cause like, as a kid, you wake up and all of a sudden he's Mankind again, making moments, but this is, I guess, the moment where Cactus Jack said goodbye for right now.
Yeah.
All right. So we have Farouk arriving at the arena and The Rock is there to greet him with open arms and Farouk tackles him and the brawl's on. The rest of the nation come out and dismantle Farouk. Dude, this is crazy. Like off to the races from the beginning.
This felt like a pandemic AEW angle. Like nobody's in the arena and they just, let's fuck them up by the trucks. And like I missed that a little bit, but I thought this was great. I really did. I loved the intensity there. They ripped the man's shirt. I thought they were going to throw him in a garbage can. Like I was pumped. I was like, where are they going with this? But it was high tension, good stuff. Rock looks like $1 million. I don't like the monotone version of The Rock as much though, where he's talking like this too much. Like it's too Flintstone-y, but he still gets the point across. This was fantastic.
So The Rock is in action right after this, following the all-out brawl with Farouk, and it's Owen Hart taking on The Rock for the IC Championship. This match ends in a DQ, 4 minutes strong. So we get The Rock in the sharpshooter. The crowd's really excited that maybe Owen is going to get the win here, and The Rock's in the middle of the ring, and here comes Chyna, and she has a bat and uses right in the back, and the match is tossed. So she stalks and backstrap and at the feet of DX, and they keep going. So we get obviously Owen and Triple H's rivalry is part of this, and Triple H is out in the ring, and the Nation and DX is involved in this. This is right where we're going to get DX and Nation Warfare. Is this around the time this happens? I'm kind of excited to see that happen.
I think this is this was the intro to that, right? Because DX, this whole episode felt like much like last one was Steve Austin and Vince being intertwined. It felt like DX is very intertwined in here, and this is like their takeover. Like let them show who's don't fuck with us, right? And Chyna stiff ass bat hit, man. I was waiting to see like a pullback a little bit on the hands, maybe see if the bat was gigged or rubber or something like that. Nope, she laid it in on Owen, man. It was a nice crack. I thought this was really good angles, really getting DX like, oh shit, they pissed on the motorcycles. Like it's really weaving in through and out. Like we're getting a lot of cool threading, and I absolutely enjoyed it.
So after this, we get a Vince segment right here. If you want to talk about Vince with the two cops with them to lead the way, because this is going to be an awesome segment with Austin in a full-blown suit.
Yeah, no, so Vince comes down, and the only way he's going to feel comfortable when Austin's next to him at this point is with two officers of the law with him. So goddamn, he comes down, we got it. There's the new and improved Stone Cold Steve Austin. and the thought of, I think the only other time we've seen Austin in a suit was at his Hall of Fame, right? But the hat, the goof, like, you knew it was too good to be true. You knew it wasn't going to take that long. And I love that he plays that. Oh, it's okay. I'm a different man. But back to shenanigans, man. Fucking Stone Cold doing Stone Cold shit. He rips the suit off. By the time this segment's over, he's almost in his wrestling gear. Like, it's great. I dug it, man. It was fantastic. But yeah, this is where it starts heating up really well. Vince is kind of, man, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I love the don't trust anybody thing still sticking there. The nut shots, like, poor Vince, like, you feel sympathetic at this point because you're like, what the fuck, man? And it only gets better and better. I loved it. Vince is just, oh, sad Vince. He's just walking away, It's beautiful. Great. Fucking awesome.
This segment doesn't get recognized as a fun segment that, I don't know. I feel like we think about a lot of Austin moments. It might just be because Austin has so many moments. I don't know if anyone talks about this as much. This is fucking awesome. Like, this was
really, yeah.
it was such a fantastic segment that the dynamic between Vince and Austin, they have such good chemistry. And then there was a second that the fans bought in. Maybe they'll have Austin become this corporate champion, but then the realization sets in where obviously Vince is going to be, turned his back on, but Vince for the last time that is naive enough to believe that he can get Austin to be his corporate champion. It's fantastic. And
the suit and tie sold it.
So good
guy now. Yeah. it was fantastic. I loved it. Before
we get into the next match, we have an irate DOA looking at their bikes and, they're upset that someone peed on their bikes. So maybe they smelled the bikes,
upset.
I guess. They
had to have
someone peed it.
That's Triple H. God damn it. But a DOA could literally take a hike at this point. Like they're the afterthought of 1998.
So we have a match here. It's a squash match. And in the results, I don't even think they tell us who this is, but I did my research. It's Luna with the artist formerly known as Goldust in her corner, taking on an unknown local talent. His name is Matt Knowles. And you guys may know him as HC Loke from the inaugural ROH show. So he was at the Era of Honor Begin show February 23rd, 2002 as a ref. And on April 27th, Knowles formed a tag team with his longtime friend DeVito known as the Carnage Crew. Carnage Crew was later expanded to include Masada and include Just Incredible. HC Loke was an ROH guy. So here he is on Raw, not announced, but I had to at least figure it out who it was. So there you go, guys. This is HC Loke of the Carnage Crew from old ROH days. So shout out to Honor Society and Ring of Honor.
Hell yeah. When I seen him, I was like, man, I didn't know Jamie Noble was that old. And I was but what a weird kind of just thrown in segment. Like it really was. Cause like, who gives a shit about this guy? This is like something they should have done as they were setting up the cage. Like just get the match over with. Nobody needs to see
Luna
this
gets the win, clear as day, diving headbutt. Who cares? But we get Val Venus segment lounging on a couch, getting powered up, and he's giving us more lame sexual. We get some innuendos, all that good stuff. And he said, I'm going to rise to the occasion. He tells the ladies he is entering the WWF, and that will be a scream. So, hello, ladies. We got the saxophone going. The whole thing.
All you need. There was some blurred cleavage shots going on. The girls in the bathrooms, like it's so hokey 90s, like Playboy-esque, and I think it's aged very well actually, because you're watching it now and you're like, it's a fucking comedy gimmick, and you weren't like back in when I was 11, I was like, this dude's fucking cool, but now it's like,
dude, the Val Venus Titantron with the shower and like it opens up, and like he's in like the forest with like hunting gear on and like just looking. Whoever filmed the Val Venus Titantron deserves a raise, because guys, right now I want you to go on YouTube, pause what we're doing now, open up a new tab, go to the Val Venus Titantron, type it in, Val Venus original Titantron, and watch the Titantron and tell me it's not a work of art. I'm telling you, it's a fucking work of art.
It is. Yeah. Oh, so good. So good.
All right. We had Ken Shamrock and Mark Merrow wrestling in a match, and this ends in a no contest because the Nation and Shamrock sees him coming. Nation comes out and gets involved. They head out, grab a chair, and Shamrock clears them out, and the Nation does not retreat, and Mark Henry nails him from behind and gives him a belly-to-belly. The Nation picks him apart, and Brown crushes him with a frog splash. Dielo's frog splash underrated, and The Rock is the mic and proclaims it's the new era, and the new Nation will give him one last stomp for good measure. So here we go with obviously more Nation, more warfare, and So what do you think about this? Obviously, Mark Merrow is not really that important to it, but no contest here.
Yeah, I'm good on anything with Mark Merrow for the now and to infinity and beyond. I thought the escalation of these factions, these storylines, everything's so perfectly well done. This was great. I love the Rock's intensity, his fucking I hate you, but I don't give a shit attitude. It's so beautiful. Absolutely stellar job.
Yeah, so there was some good action in this match, but mostly angle advancement for Shamrock and the Nation, and they're targeting him, and The Rock makes it clear he didn't forget Shamrock. He's going to come back and get him. So we also get a segment, Taker coming out, and Kevin Kelly reminds him how much his body absorbed at WrestleMania, and then he asks Taker, can you do it again at the upcoming pay-per-view? And they talk about the match, the Inferno match coming up. No, what do you think about this as far as setting the stage for the Inferno match to come up at potentially the next pay-per-view?
I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was terrible. It's you're telling the story of Kane and Undertaker. I like the announcers really sold like this is Undertaker's first time on television since WrestleMania. Like, it was that kind of shit. But yeah, it's good, not terrible build. I want to see the Inferno match. Like I'm already sold. All you had to say was the Inferno match, and we was already sold. I mean, your shirt's on fire right now. We're ready for it.
Yes. So the thing is too that caught my eye was the crowd stunned about when they reveal all the stuff about Undertaker's parents and they're talking about all that stuff, and the crowd looked like they were like heartbroken. Like I don't know, like guys,
the poor Taker,
like come on,
that's our dude. No, it's weird. 90s wrestling fans are passionate, very passionate.
Which we lead this to our main event here. We get a passionate affair right here between the Disciples of Apocalypse, fresh off their motorcycles, getting a whole bunch of piss on it. Chain, Skull, and 8-Ball versus the newly formed DX. Everyone sends X-PAC in the ring, and China, of course. Triple H, Billy Gunn on the Road Dogg. X-PAC's clearly not clear to wrestle, but lead us through here this match. It goes a little bit longer. Main event, 8 minutes and 55 seconds, but some good action.
No, good action. Like it was a lot of good back and forth. You're really just telling the story that DX is the new gang in town. Screw DOA. We don't want to deal with it. Like we are way more badass than DOA is. Good shit from the Outlaws. Like I could watch Young Outlaws wrestle fucking for hours. Like they were really fine-tuned, so damn good. Triple H doing good. I'm very, very. I was taken away for how good Triple H is like filling in this role. Like he is he's not the game yet, but you see the little hints of it. You're feeling it. He's not this goof that's just with Shawn Michaels anymore. He's his own presence. And yeah, this was good. It was a good brawl, just good back and forths. Obviously we got fucking DX is winning because DOA is not going to win. So it wasn't bad. It was good. I enjoyed the shit out of it, man. This was another solid ass Raw.
Absolutely. I agree. It was a solid Raw. I mean, there was some decent wrestling, obviously, with Owen and The Rock getting involved in matches, and DX is getting their feet under him, but Vince and Austin getting a lot of steam, and Rock and Shamrock they have to have a blow off match soon. So, I think at this point, Raw is like really getting on a roll, and WWF is getting on a roll. Yeah. They're understanding what their very clear initiative is, and they're finding their rhythm of they know the formula, and now they're just going to hit their mark and get better and better.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Which leads us to our third Raw of the week. It's Monday Night Raw, 4/13/98 from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Core State Center, and this is the week that Nitro finally falls. This is the one you can circle that Nitro loses. So this is coming off the heels of the NBA playoffs. So this is it's a big deal for WWF. And like obviously don't know in the moment, but Raw beating them in the ratings is it just shows it takes time. They're building momentum. They're building some leverage towards building new fans and keeping them. But they obviously are doing something well. And like if we look at the formula, like we were saying before, whatever they're doing is working, and they don't break from that mold. That's the biggest thing. There's consistency in their product.
Yeah, I think the threading storylines in between whatever the hell's going on there in the show is the best thing that they're doing, because it's keeping you captivated the whole time. You're like, shit, what's next? And like, how are you not going to want to come back and watch again?
So we get the recap to open the show of Austin in the suit. And then we get Austin to open the show. And again, 3 straight Raws with 3 straight hot openings. Austin gets a huge pop. He has the mic and he wants to get something straight that's between him and Vince. He wants Vince to come out, or he will hold up the entire show. He promises not to knock out Vince and just wants to talk to him man to man. He wants a cold beer while he waits, and he will take a nap in the middle of the ring if that's what it takes. So Vince reluctantly peels apart the curtains like, all right, I'm coming out. And he stops, but he looks behind him, and here comes some police in riot gear, and they head towards the ring. Austin's laughing like, I can't believe he's doing that, and he encourages to come down to the ring. He tells the police not to get closer, it will not be pretty. Austin wants to know who's facing the pay-per-view, and Vince has not made up his mind yet. Austin thinks he's holding back on him. So we continue throughout this, and we get more Vince mocking himself. Like, I feel like he's trying to act like he's dumb here. But Austin's holding him accountable. This is like a really, really good segment, and we get more cop interactions with Austin, right?
Yeah, and no, it's great. I love the I'll kick your ass with my arm tied behind my back, and he's like, whoa, oh. But my favorite part about this was after it all with Pat Patterson going, God damn it, you can't do this, Vince. You can't let him treat you like this. The crowd's going banana. You can't do this, Vince. It's so good. I miss Patterson so much, man. He was a great on-screen fucking character, but this is like Vince is like, oh, what do I do? You know, and like, I don't know what to do yet. And this is they're selling him like, you got to wrestle him. Vince, you got to go out there and do the job. You got to treat him like it's Montreal, man. Like it's really awesome, man. I love it. I absolutely love it.
So it looks like we're setting the tone for the main event tonight. It's going to be Vince versus Austin for the title. And this is what they do in the opening segments. They set the hook and they keep you on for the rest of the show. And that's how you compound ratings. People want to see what's going to happen next. And you didn't know what was going to happen. Like, you knew they were going to put the match in the ring. You probably, everybody that was informed or had any sense of knowledge about the wrestling business knew they weren't going to have the match happen. Just the fact that they'd be coming out to the ring and the WWF title is on the line tonight. You had to tune in and see what's happening. Yeah,
no, I want to see Dynamite open up like this once, see how it changes.
So the other funny part is Vince is trying to leave in the limo, but Austin beat the shit out of the limo driver and the car has 4 flats. So just great stuff. And Vince is just at his wit's end. He doesn't know what to do. And I think we're going to be like, obviously him and Briscoe and Patterson in the back, and they're trying to say, you got to stand up for yourself, as you said, and you got to set him straight. And he's, obviously Vince doesn't know what to do. We're going to see what's hiding under that suit for Vince. He's pretty damn jacked. I mean, he's not the most jacked he's ever been, but damn, there's a nice body under there.
Yeah, he's still missing the leather tan, but he's pale and ready to nail Austin, man.
So our first match of the night was the Los Boricuas, Savio Vega and Jose Estrada taking on the Disciples of Apocalypse, Skull and 8-Ball. And this is a chain match. So there's some stipulation in this, but it goes only 2 minutes. So the bell rings, DOA hits the Boricuas with a series of blows. Vega and Skull are on the floor as 8-Ball leaps off the top and clocks Boricuas with the chain and hammers them on the floor. Chains and Gunner going at it, and Triple H and X-PAC come over and hit him with the chairs, and now he's getting pummeled. Triple H then nails him with the pedigree into the chair as they are not focused on the ring action at all. Billy Gunn then pile drives him into the chair, and then back in the ring, Savio is working over 8-Ball, and now DX is coming to the ring, and they go after DOA, and the ref just says, toss in the match, it's over. Triple H then hits Skull with the chair as X-PAC chokes out 8-Ball, and now DX turns on the Boricuas and unloads on them. As you said, man, this is just establishing DX. There's a new army in town. We're the faction. We're just ending all this other shitty faction warfare. It's us in the nation. Go away, DOA and Boricuas.
So happy for it. Like, absolutely. No offense to Savio Vega, because he's the most talented person in the ring on this match. But I mean, yeah, how can you not love it? They're just coming in, starting all sorts of shit with everybody. Fuck yeah.
So Vince is arguing in the back, and Shane's trying to talk him out of the match. And Vince now is upset and wants to know if they think he can't take Austin. He's like, what are you guys talking about? I could take him out. Then he said there's going to be a tag match, but Vince has to come down solo. So for over 50 years, WWF has been a part of this heritage from his grandparents to his father, and he hopes to pass it on to his kids, which is funny to hear now, especially with the whole impending sale.
Yeah, their grandkids.
And the WWF has always been part of his integrity, and that's something the champ lacks. He has no honor, no integrity. His decision will not sit well with those that came before him. But sometimes a man has to do what a man has to do. And he says, I'm going to get in the ring. And I respond, oh, hell yeah. Briscoe and Patterson come down and they clap. They're all excited. They're pumped up. Vince is going to fucking kill this guy. Great shit. And really, if you look at the storytelling, like, he should be the face. Like, he's trying to restore the heritage of his company. And he is the most heel guy. It speaks to what the product is.
Yeah, and beautifully done. Like, absolutely beautiful, which worked very well for his character too. You can't pick a better Vince McMahon trying to save his company segment. Like,
so now the lights dim. Michael Cole worries if it's Kane, but it is Taker. So the four combatants are baffled, and Undertaker grabs 2 of them by the throat, and he chokeslams them. And he grabs Scott Taylor, chokeslams them, tombstones them. So there was supposed to be some match happening in the ring, but Undertaker put a stop to that. And yeah, so just more build towards Kane and Taker, which apparently is happening in 2 weeks, right? We're going to get Unforgiven in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. I like this side of Taker, this malicious. I'm coming for you. It looked really good, and it brought presence. It was really well done.
We get Tennessee Lee announcing Jeff Jarrett, and we get leaflets falling from the ceiling, and apparently we're going to get Double J singing at the pay-per-view, which leads us into Taka Michinoku versus Jeff Jarrett with Tennessee Lee in his corner. Lead us through, Belcaster.
Get the fuck out of here. Listen, the verbiage. Taka Michinoku defeats Jeff Jarrett. That's all I'm calling it. I don't care if it was by DQ. Motherfucker earned that shit. Man, I got nothing for Jeff Jarrett. This sucks. And the pamphlets thing, great visual, terrible fucking idea. I don't want to hear him sing. I don't want him to see it. I hope he's never on AEW TV again. I hope he's staying back here in 1998.
We're days working hard on the go, but the hands on the clock keep spinning too slow.
We got to kidnap him.
Wait for Taka to get another win.
But yeah,
so we also had Kai Tai attack Taka at the end of the match too. So that's how the ref ends.
Yeah,
the ref ends
sure. Yeah. Indeed. Yeah.
Indeed. So following this match here, if we want to put those in quotes that went 3 minutes, Austin's in the back and he's knew Vince would accept because he had no choice, and it would be bad advice. But whatever he stated, it would be settled tonight. And it will be over one way or another. Then we cut to Patterson giving advice to Vince how to take out Austin. Briscoe kicks at Patterson, who grabs the leg of Vince, and they look on wide-eyed, so they're like getting him ready. And Briscoe is shoot tough guy, by the way. Like, if I wanted to hook you, you'd be hooked. So
yeah,
he's going to try to hook him. So we'll see what happens. So we get a bandaged Farouk. Coming out to some generic rap song. He's no longer with the Nation. And Farouk said, I'm going to make this short and simple. I know that The Rock is back there. You better listen up. Rock may have broken a rib, messed him up, but deep down he knows he gave The Rock and the Nation their opportunity, and he is going to give them one more try to kick his ass. And here comes the Nation. The Rock mocks him for being ignorant from the beating he took, and he needs to sit back, smell what he's cooking tonight in Philly. The Rock tells him that he has a big hand, and that means he's going to lay the smack down on Farouk. So a lot of the Rockisms just coming out of him, like free flowing like a river. We got the know your role. We got the smell what I'm cooking, lay the smack down. And The Rock is willing to have the Nation kick his ass. But Shamrock and Blackman show up behind the Nation and do it too. And The Rock is baffled by the sudden eruption of cheers and turns and sees the Nation runs to the ring. Now the brawl is on and they're pounding on each other. The ref is trying to restore order. Pretty cool segment here.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The Rock is on a whole different level.
Yeah, so we get some faction warfare. It's going to be Farouk and the combination of Ken Shamrock and Steve Blackman versus the Nation. So, some programming going on.
It's a placeholder. Yeah, it's okay. It's all right.
So we get Terry Funk coming out here, and he's here to announce a new partner. That the reason because Cactus Jack waddled out of the ring and quit because the fans chanted Austin. Terry Funk does not care what the fans think or who the fans chant for, so his new partner will be hardcore and the fans erupt. And Funk claims he's going to bring some funk to people's faces, and out comes a new and improved Flash Funk. And here he comes. It's going to be Terry Funk, Too Cold Scorpio versus the Quebecers, Jacques and Pierre. Lead us through, Belcaster. Tell us about it.
If you don't think for a second that they knew that they were in ECW town to pull this fucking card out, the crowd went wild, man. And so did I. I was literally popped. I think it was Jim Ross. Man, he's just too cold now. It was so cool to get the throwback, and like they're ditching the Flash Funk gimmick. Well needed, well awesome. Not a bad match either. It was some back and forth. It's no PCO, but Jacques and Pierre are rocking, doing the thing. That 450 splash by fucking it's Too Cold Scorpio is amazing, man. It looks so pretty. Funk's sitting there waiting for him. As he's getting the pin, he gets on the ground. He's counting with them. Just awesome, man. Super cool. And a thing I never knew. I did not know that Too Cold Scorpio wrestled for WWE. I knew Flash Funk did, but I did not know that Too Cold Scorpio got a break here. That was fucking
very good
sweet.
Point. And just the cultural awareness of ECW. It really is. Like, it's such a it's a smart thing to do. They're in Philly. Why not? And the ECW
Signs
chants, and
galore.
that's just having an awareness and a lack of insecurity. Like, we understand that's happening. We understand it's popular. Give the fans what they want. They're wrestling fans. They want to see their beloved guys out in front of us. So good fucking shit. I loved it.
Hell yeah.
So we get Luna coming down to the ring. She's wearing a sailor's cap and an all white outfit, and she wants to settle this right now. Calls out Sable. Sable comes out and she goes after Luna, and a slew of officials come out to break it up, and Goldust is carrying Luna to the back. So a little fight between Luna and Sable, which leads us into our match here. The Midnight Express, Bombastic Bob and Bodacious Bart, with Jim Cornette and Dan Severn taking on Ken Shamrock and Steve Blackman, who were involved in the brawl earlier. Not too much here. Ends in a double DQ. They love double DQs. Shamrock getting the hot tag, unloads on both men, all four in the ring. The heels are getting dismantled. Shamrock power slams Bob, so the ref calls for the bell. DQs both teams. Ref can't get it under control. Lame fucking ending. Double DQ. What's the point? Why? Why can't? Why? Yeah. Why? I don't understand.
The time we clamor for a Valvina segment is
well,
it's like, why'd you do that?
It's coming soon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We get more Vince stuff in the back, and then we get the headbangers in the ring, but the lights come out. Taker comes out. Headbangers look at him and they decide to kick Undertaker and try to fend him off, but it's no avail. They get their ass kicked, and we get the lights going out, and Kane comes out. They go face to face. Man, good shit. This Kane and Taker feud is really well built, and the rest of the roster be damned. We don't give a shit who's in the ring. We're gonna get these guys out there, and that's what's cool, man. Like the build to this feels important, just as important as the world title.
Yeah, no, and emotionally, everybody's invested on it. Like you said, people were gasping at the horror story that Undertaker's childhood was, and then you get this vicious ass side of Taker. I'm gonna fuck everybody up. Kane coming out. I'm sold. Sign me up.
So we get another Val Venus segment. He's talking and doing innuendos, and he says, "I have a rocket in my pocket, which will take every woman to a new exciting heights." And he sits down next to two women, one with, she has her boob showing. It's out of her. I mean, obviously it's covered up, and he calls it Venus Envy, which eventually becomes his shirt, right? He has a Venus Envy shirt.
Yeah.
How many people bought a Val Venus shirt that said Venus Envy? I'm so curious if it's out there. If you own a Val Venus shirt, you own a Venus Envy shirt? No way. You have a Val Venus shirt?
I don't have it still, but I did buy it when I was a kid.
Oh
I got in trouble.
I love it.
I was notorious for getting in trouble with wrestling shirts at school, man. It started with Suck It, and it just kept going. I had the Venus Envy. A really shitty teacher. She was mad that what is that? What is that? Sounds like penis. That's not good. Well.
So DX comes out here, and we lead into the match. Owen Hart taking on Billy Gunn, Triple H, X-PAC, China, and Road Dogg are in the corner. Somehow, some way, Owen gets the win. LOD comes out to defend his honor, so they break the numbers game a little bit. Match was pretty good, man. I mean, obviously, Owen is always distracted by China. Owen gets the win here with a roll-up. As soon as he gets anything, he gets beat to hell by DX as soon as he gets the win. But Owen is like constantly being beat up by China. Like no matter what, he falls for it every time. But it was cool to see Owen get the win here. Despite everything going on, he beats Billy Gunn. No,
I'm loving Billy Gunn, young Gunn Billy. It was a fun match. I love Owen too, man. Owen's he's not his full potential, but he's doing it good.
So we now have the start of this main event here. Vince has a towel draped over his shoulder and some type of obviously his tights are hiked up high and he's jacked as hell. And Vince is
vascular
swagger. He's vascular. And he says the announcer say he looks naturally ripped. Shane comes out and he's still trying to talk Vince out of it. And Shane finally leaves as Vince uses Patterson to practice some sweet boxing moves. And we get the glass breaking. Crowd erupts. Austin goes from corner to corner to pose for the fans. He's eyeing Vince like a tiger, man, pacing. Austin and Vince are face to face, with Vince trying to act tough, and he slaps Austin in the face, man. And I was like, holy shit, no way.
Bad move.
Austin draws away as Vince gives him the evil eye. Vince grabs the mic and reminds Austin what he said about beating him with one hand tied behind his back. Austin looks displeased, and Vince has a rope, and he wants the stunner arm tied. Vince wants to try out if Austin has any guts. Briscoe's now talking to Austin, mocking him and saying, do it. I bet you won't do it. And obviously it's taking a lot to build towards this, but this is what they're doing. Obviously they're building towards this. And here it is, the moment that we've been waiting for. Didn't know we wanted it. fucking Dude Love comes out. That's what in the middle
Oh,
of
have
chaos.
mercy. It's the
And
best.
Dude wants
The
to know
best.
if they all can't get along. The Dude does not feel a whole lot of love tonight. There's only one cat who can bring the peace to the war zone, and that's Dude Love. Vince is the man who writes the check and allows the Dude to live the life he calls, and Uncle Vinny is his main man. He calls Stone Cold the world's toughest SOB, just clocks Dude, and the latter declares that the huge mistake and goes for the claw, and Vince tries to fight him off, and here comes Austin, and Dude turns around and puts the claw on. Dude Love lets it go, dances, and Vince leaves the ring. Dude Love mocks Austin, starts to beat him down, and the claw's back on. We get the Dude Love Austin feud. Like, what? This was confusing because I don't remember really any of this happening. I was confused, but we wonder where Foley went. They want to separate him from Terry Funk, put him in the main event, and here we are. Dude Love.
Yeah. I'm here for it. I thought the Dude Love and Austin storyline is great. I've seen them live several times fight each other. I'm pumped for it because Foley and Stone Cold mean money, man.
So the ending of Raw has we have Austin on the announce table with the mandible claw in his mouth. Dude Love. It's such a weird visual because Dude Love is such a lovable character, and he's like this vicious heel. And I don't know. I really like this edge to him. And of course, we saw so this was what it was tied into, obviously, with Austin being the reason Cactus Jack was pissed. Everyone was chanting for Austin when he's putting his body on the line. And now here he is. He's like, you know what? I'm coming after Austin, not as Cactus, but as Dude Love, a guy that I used to be a tag team champion with. So here we are.
Yeah, absolutely love it.
This episode, I have to say, was legendary. I mean, seeing Austin and Vince face to face, this show that broke the Nitro mystique, and obviously little did people know this would send Raw skyrocketing for years. I mean, this is what they're building on. This is the show you can look at. If you circle the ratings, this is what made Vince a billionaire. This is a promo heavy show we got the Russo style overbooking, but for the most part, this was really well done, man. Not much wrestling. A lot of promos were top notch, and the main angles that were built were just epic. Like 3 great Raw. It might have been the 3 best episodes of any Shot Nostalgia we've done back to back to back.
Yeah, it was absolutely up there, man. Like you walked home happy. Yeah, this is fucking fantastic.
And I just been listening to the Dude Love theme song over and over again on Spotify. It's gonna be my #1 song of 2023. It's gonna be Spotify rap. You listen to the song 732 times. All right.
Oh, have mercy.
You want fluff? Go eat a marshmallow.
Not a lot of fluff on this show, though, but let's get to the chase and talk about our favorite part of the 3 Raws, why it was our favorites, and, we'll get ready to build up next week.
The Chaser.
All right, Mike Belcaster, tell me your favorite part of these 3 Raws. This is one of the toughest decisions we have to make.
Yeah, no, it's literally everything was so top tier, but I really have to give it to Vince coming into his own here. Really playing that coward, like scared, man, he's going to ruin my business. What am I going to do? Everything down to Pat Patterson. No, Vince, you got to do it. You got to kick him in the banana. You're going to take him. You're going to beat him. It's going to be a good, like, you love it. But there was so much good shit on the whole cards. Like, this is the best storytelling I think we've had in wrestling in a long time. And I mean that even now. Like, it's just it really fucking stellar back-to-back shit.
Completely agree with you. And yeah, I mean, it was tough to pick. It could have been the Dude Love. It could have been Vince. It could have been
Kane Taker.
New Age Outlaws, Kane Taker. I'm going to go with X-PAC, though, because the importance of that he had throughout the Attitude Era and the new DX. Like, it wouldn't be the new DX without Sean Waltman. X-PAC is so
100%.
important to what they're doing. But I loved a lot of this. I mean, a lot of the matches, as we mentioned, the work rate wasn't great. But this is why 1998 is remembered fondly, because what was missing from the Raws and the build to WrestleMania 14 was there wasn't work rate, but there wasn't a lot of meaningful story. There was the Tyson stuff, but everything else felt lesser than. Now it feels like they're on a roll where everything from segment to segment feels important. There's a purpose for everyone, even the mid card. This is sort of a college professor's course of how to get your mid card to mean something. And it's not even about championship belts. It's about other stories. The Nation doesn't have a championship belt involved. Obviously, Rock's the IC champion, but that's not the motivation of everybody there. And even the stuff with Vince and Austin, it is about the title, but it's also about like a mindset that Austin has that's different than Vince. It's not just about the championship. Of course, the be all end all would be to get the title off of Austin, but it goes much deeper than that. And that's how you get stories to really resonate with people. And that's why they're going head to head with Nitro and beating them for the first time. They're finally getting their sea legs under them. It's great.
And they got nothing but Venus envy.
Very, very good stuff. But let's close the tab. We'll get ready for next week. Talk about episode 7, what's coming up down the line. Next week is St. Paddy's Day. So we're going to get ready for that.
Closing the tab.
All right, the lights are coming on in the bar, and it is time to get ready for the weekend. Happy Friday, everybody, as we mentioned in the opening. Next week's show will be episode 7 of season 3. We'll be on St. Paddy's Day, 3/17/23. Who knows where I'll be? Maybe I'll be at GCW at Melrose Ballroom, New York City. So maybe I'll be there checking out all the beautiful stuff. We will be covering the April 20th Raw, Unforgiven 1998, smack in the middle, and of course, the night after, April 27th Raw. And we're well on our way, man. We're heading through the spring, getting to the summer, and 1998 is off to a beautiful start. We're right in the middle of it. I'm enjoying this ride, man. It's been a lot of fun.
110%, man. And I think it's just going to keep getting better and better as we keep getting into it. And then by the end of this, we're going to be like, shit, we should have went in the 99. But I'm fucking stoked. Can't wait. This is going to be a hell of a ride, man. I remember Unforgiven being a great card. These Raws are just on fire right now.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that with 1998, as you mentioned, 1999, that's the beautiful part of Shot Nostalgia. It leaves us wanting a little bit more. As we mentioned before, season 4 will be 7 episodes. Smoky Mountain Wrestling 1994 is be a quick one, but who knows where we go with season 5? We don't know. We have an idea where we want to go, but it might change over time. And we're booked out until this time next year. So we will start season 4 July 7th. That'll be a Friday, and then lead us all the way through. I think the season 5 will probably start sometime end of August, something like that. And then we're going to be off the races. And I think season 5 will lead us all the way until this time next year. So, you know, these longer seasons, you have to get comfortable with the content because you're there for a while. WCW 1996 was a long time. We had that breather with season 2 with ECW. It was a shorter season, 11 episodes. But dude, as we approach 100 episodes, what a journey this has been, man. This started out of like one little sparkling idea that you and I had. I recognized when I first joined the Tavern, like, you're the guy I want to get on here with and do a show. What can we do? This is so much fun. This is so much fun.
Yeah, no, likewise, man. Wouldn't be on the journey with anybody else. And I think we got content quality for years to come, man. We could turn this into our own TV series. We'll be rocking and rolling.
100%. And anything you want to get in first? I know you did your solo Fig Night, but next week coming up, anything coming up?
You guys want a shot of nostalgia? Go watch that Fig Night. It was pretty cool. I first time using 2 cameras. It was a little shaky, little rough roads, but we got it done. I built the Mattel Creations not new gen, but the Raw's War big ass ring, and it was a blast. We got a new cane out of it. We had a hell of a good time playing with it. I showed off some figure photography tricks towards the end of it too, which I normally wouldn't do. It was a spur of the moment, having fun, but got some lights and some smoke for Kane. It was cool. But yeah, man, we got the Fig Night this week. I'm not 100% sure what's on the card, but it's going to be a good time no matter what. So stay tuned.
So stay tuned after this. We have Zach Ramsey, the Miasma, visits the Tavern. Check it out. We have a good conversation following this. So go right over, check it out. And like I said before, Val Venus used his 2 cameras. Mike Belcaster used his 2 cameras. We'll see you guys next week.